All right, today, how about we use a pen? And besides that, maybe some colored pencils. Very colorful indeed. And a sketchbook. All right, with these tools, I think we can get a lot done in this video brought to you by Squarespace. Now, as hinted by the materials I presented to you, I am going to add some color to this drawing. Somewhat hesitantly, but somewhat optimistically. Look, when I posted this on Instagram, someone did leave a comment saying, "Peter, I actually like your drawings without color better." And, I had to agree. I also like my drawings without color better. That's why I've been doing them for so long. However, there is something about adding a little bit of color to the drawing that is also attractive to me, and it reminds me of that old, tired, worn out, browbeaten, battle-worn, exhausted quote about or by Thomas Edison, where someone asked him how much he had failed or something, and he said, "I haven't failed 10,000 times. I've successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work." I also don't like my drawings with color in them as much, but I think a big part of it is that I just haven't done nearly as many drawings with color in them as I have just plain black and white drawings. Like I've probably done, thousands and thousands and thousands of plain black and white ink drawings, and probably less than 100 ones with color. So it makes sense that I wouldn't be nearly as good at them or nearly as content with where I'm at with them. But it doesn't mean I get discouraged right away, because just the fact that I'm doing them just out of my free will without anyone telling me to do it means that there's something there that's tickling my brain a little bit that is making me kind of creatively reach for it, right? It kind of reminds me of when I just first started drawing in general. Like, I didn't feel completely competent, but it didn't matter, right? Because I was enjoying the process, and at the end of each drawing, I was frustrated enough that the result didn't look exactly, or not even that it didn't look exactly that, but that the result just wasn't as cool as what I knew it could be. The result just didn't have that, I don't know, something wasn't there, right? We all have different standards in our heads, and a lot of us have very high standards. That's why art can be frustrating. When we draw something and we're like, wow, that's not as cool as it was in my head. Well, that's what's given me a lot of motivation over the years. That's just part of it. That's not everything. But I mean, to get better, just like regular black and white drawing, right? That's been a big part of it. Just like I want what's on the paper to get closer to what's in my head. Even though the things in my head is a little bit difficult to describe, though, because the things in my head are a little bit abstract. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is, starting to add color reminds me of how I felt with starting to draw in the first place. It's kind of restarting a process of learning. And so just don't get discouraged if you're in a similar process. All right, let's check out Squarespace for a moment. If you haven't, go look at all the different templates they have that you can use to start your own website. They're all very flexible. The appearance of them really comes down to personal preference, but then you can modify them endlessly to suit your personal needs, whatever you've got going on. For example, you can set up an online store to sell some things, whether it's physical or digital stuff. Your Squarespace account website will keep track of all the inventory for you, automatically email people when they buy stuff with their tracking number and everything. So it's very cool, and I've been enjoying using it myself for the stuff like that. So go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/PeterDraws for 10% off your first website or domain. Now, as far as this drawing goes, I did it in a vertical, I guess you'd call this a portrait orientation, as opposed to sideways. You might more typically call it landscape. Some people also know this as maybe, I guess if I was folding the paper, it would be hot dog versus hamburger style. But anyways, I drew this in portrait, and it wasn't until the end, when I turned it on its side, which you'll see at the end, that this drawing started to it looked completely different to me. A lot of the times when I see something different in my drawings, it happens about halfway through. This one didn't happen till the very end. And as I showed a lot of comments on Instagram, I think people there saw the same thing I did. Let me know what you see in it. I don't know if it's some kind of subconscious thing or a lot of, I don't know. Nature just has a lot of cool shapes in it, and especially the human body. Even if they're just parts of the human body on the inside, I've only ever seen through weird medical, like diagrams and textbooks and stuff. Sorry, I keep dropping this lid I have in my hand. I do remember when I was little, my mom was a nurse, and so there were like all these medical textbooks with cool diagrams I would look through all the time. So I probably had these kind of lines and shapes and inspirations bouncing around in my head for a long time. Not that I'm trying to draw anything anatomically correct here, but just kind of the shape of weird, wiggly, like veins, and I don't know how to describe the rest of it. But yeah, I think you get the idea. Then on the other hand, my dad, when I was little, was a airplane mechanic. So maybe that kind of explains my two types of drawing, because he would have like manuals. Well, he didn't have too many airplane mechanic manuals, but he had some. There were still, I would still get to see him like working on the car, I got to go watch him work on actual airplanes and helicopters sometimes. So maybe those are like the two sides. Sometimes I draw something organic and mushy and biological, and sometimes I like drawing things that are more, mechanical and like sharp edges, and maybe that's interesting. I never really thought about that, where I got those two sides from. Of course, my dad had, I think the manuals, stuff I did look at home to give me mechanical inspiration were things like, I think my dad did have a couple of those, what are they called, like Haynes car manuals. Those have a lot of cool diagrams of them, just of different parts of the car, like the engine and stuff. I don't know if I'm thinking of the right thing, but we always had some cool books to look at home. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. Good to talk to you. Hope you're doing okay. I'm hanging in there. I'll see you later, all right? Goodbye.